What's up, Guardians? Profane here. Thanks for checking out the video. In less than a month, Destiny's next dungeon will be made available, and with the release of this new dungeon, we'll be getting a special 24-hour contest mode. This will be the first dungeon to feature a contest mode, something that we've only seen done with raids. During this contest mode, this dungeon will be much more difficult than its standard version, potentially even more difficult than its master. At the time of this video, we don't know the overall premise of the dungeon, or what its encounters and bosses will be like. This dungeon will be releasing during an episode that's focused on the Scorn, but that doesn't guarantee that it's Scorn that we'll be facing up against, especially since we just saw a heavy focus of Scorn in Destiny's last dungeon, the Warlord's Ruin. It's been speculated that the Icebreaker exotic sniper rifle might be the exotic reward out of this new dungeon, which makes me think that it's much more likely that we'll see a Vex-inspired dungeon. This will most likely be structured just like other dungeons, hosting 3 bosses and at least 1 or 2 traversal areas that include puzzles. And you can bet that there's going to be at least 1 hidden chest and a number of collectibles. This dungeon and its contest mode will be launching on Friday, October the 11th at Daily Reset. If it's anything like a raid contest mode, we can expect to have our power level capped, and we'll go up against more powerful enemies, and potentially even champions. Make no mistake, even though it's not a raid contest mode, this will still be a massive challenge for players, a challenge that some Guardians just might not be able to handle. So in light of that, we're going to be talking about the best weapons that you need to get your hands on now to be ready for this new contest mode, so that you have the best chances at having success. Since we don't know anything about the dungeon itself, all of these weapon recommendations are subject to change, but all of the weapons that we talk about today are weapons that already have great levels of success in current dungeons and raids, and most have been powerful options in previous raid contest modes. So let's get started. Enemies are going to hit harder in contest mode, and you're going to take increased damage, so having sources of health regeneration will be crucial. This is why exotics like the Lumina or Red Death will be great choices for someone on the team to have. Legendary solar weapons that come with heal clip would be just as beneficial, and one of the most standout of those is the no hesitation support frame auto rifle. Since the enemies in contest mode will be stronger, it'll take more damage to bring a lot of them down, and that's why I would recommend having a rocket sidearm at the ready. The Call, the Indebted Kindness, and the Aberrant Action are all 3 incredible options. Since Indebted Kindness drops with Volt Shot, it'll be a great option to add bonus levels of crowd control, and since the Aberrant Action can drop with Heal Clip and Incandescent, it's going to help you clear through enemies faster while providing you with health recovery. Another weapon that will provide a lot of advantages when it comes to survivability is the Buried Bloodline. This weapon triggers Devour, which will grant health recovery and bonus grenade energy after each final blow. It also weakens targets, so it'll be a great option in contest mode. With survival in mind, the Navigator would provide you and teammates with Woven Mail, helping you resist incoming damage. This is a benefit you could also trigger with the Excalibur Glaive, as it provides a void overshield to you and allies whenever blocking incoming damage. There's also the Risk Runner that could potentially provide you with a lot of damage resistance. If this dungeon has a lot of enemies that are using arc damage, then the Risk Runner will keep you nice and protected, which is a benefit you could also trigger with the Ergo Sum and its Arc Conductor weapon trait. To compete with dense crowds of enemies and give yourself an easy source of damage against the new bosses, weapons like the Dragon's Breath, the Wither Horde, or the Lost Signal will really come in handy, as you can stick a target and then turn your attention elsewhere. The Dragon's Breath is one of the most impressive selections, as it puts out a ton of damage, especially when used with a solar build. And all 3 of these weapons allows you to easily rotate through your weapon loadouts so that you can deal optimal damage. You are going to need the Wither Horde's auto-loading catalyst to get the best performance out of that exotic, just like you would need the auto-loading perk on the Lost Signal. With most dungeons including never-ending swarms of rank-and-file enemies, it's going to be crucial for you to be able to handle them as they're spawning in. Having methods to disorient your enemies will greatly help with that, and that's something that you can find on a lot of grenade launchers. It's also something you could achieve from using flashbang or suppression grenades. So far we've talked about weapons that are going to help us stay alive and handle crowd control, but let's turn our attention to those that are going to help us deal the most damage. If this dungeon includes any up-close engagements and up-close damage phases, then the Lament will be a great exotic option. This sword deals out a ton of damage. It heals you after final blows, and it provides a full frontal shield that blocks most incoming damage. Shotguns with 1-2 punch and trench barrel would also make for powerful options in those close range engagements. The Tractor Cannon would be another exotic that I would recommend someone using to trigger a 30% debuff against up-close enemies in those close-range encounters. But if you find yourself in more distanced engagements, the Divinity would be a better option. The Choir of One will be a powerhouse of a weapon to take into this new dungeon. Even though it's on the docket to be nerfed when it comes to its synergy with Divinity and ammo economy, it's still one of the most powerful exotic options that's currently available, and it's great for both up-close engagements and those from a distance. With its ability to deal bonus damage against high-ranking enemies and Taken, the Malfeasance could very well become a key component towards your success with this contest mode, especially if unstoppable champions get included. But if there's no Taken enemies and no unstoppable champions, then the Malfeasance is better off sitting on the sideline. The Wish Ender is another weapon that deals bonus damage against Taken enemies. It also pierces barrier shields, and it grants True Sight, which is going to let you see certain encounter mechanics and objectives. In previous dungeons like the Ghost of the Deep, we saw bosses that wore kinetic shields, and we had to break those shields before we could deal actual damage. So if we see something like that again, then the Arbalist would be a great option. And so would the Microcosm, but this will be a great option purely for the basis of optimal damage, as this weapon deals bonus damage after casting your super. There's also a few standout legendary weapons that should help you put up some pretty good levels of damage, and the most notable are the Edge Transit Grenade Launcher and the Apex Predator Rocket Launcher with Bait and Switch. Bait and Switch grants a 35% bonus in damage after striking enemies with your other two weapons, so either option could pair up nicely with several of the primary exotics that we mentioned earlier. Once Revenant has officially released, we'll gain access to a new seasonal artifact that will include several new mods that could enhance the performance of some of these weapons even more. But at the time of this video, we don't know what those new mods will be, something we will hopefully get details on in the next week or two. With that said, I wish you all the best of luck out there. If you've got any other weapons that you would recommend, then be sure to let us know those down in the comments below. If you're in need of a good build to take on that contest mode, then be sure to check out my Mobalytics link that's down in the description, where you'll be able to find a ton of great in-game builds. Thank you as always for checking out the video. If you enjoyed and found it helpful, then be sure to hit that like button below, along with the subscribe button if you're new. Both are greatly appreciated, and both really do help support the channel. If you're a new Light Guardian just starting your journey, or a battle-hardened veteran just looking for a new place to call home, then be sure to check out the Discord link that's also in the description, and join one of the greatest communities in all of Destiny. And until next time, Guardians, this has been Profane, wishing you all some happy hunting.